Let us see one of the most popular middleware in Redux, which is used for performing asynchronous operation, and that is redux-thunk. We already know middleware will be sitting between dispatching the action and the store. So using this, the action will no longer be immediately dispatched. First, it gets into the middleware. So here, our middleware is the Thunk middleware. Then after that, it starts fetching the data inside our Thunk middleware. And this can be any asynchronous operation. But now we are going to see how to fetch data from API. And as soon as the data is arrived, the data will be passed inside this actions payload. And then we finally dispatch the action into the store where the state will be immediately updated. And once the state is updated, we are just going to re-render our component. So basically, Thunk allows Redux to wait before dispatching the fetch data inside the store. In other words, you can tell we have to use Thunk in order to defer dispatching into the future. So at this point, the data which we need from the API has already been arrived, and after that, once we dispatch the action, whatever updating logic we have written, that will be performed. So now to implement this Thunk middleware, first we have to install two packages. First is Axios. Using this, we can make GET request to an API endpoint. Here, I will open terminal. Inside this, I will write npm i Axios. Hit enter. Once the package is installed, just open this package.json, and inside that, just check whether the dependency is added or not. Successfully, I am having my Axios dependency. Then second package, we have to install redux-thunk. For that, open Google, just type Thunk middleware and click on this first link. And if you scroll, you will be having all the steps. If you want to install the package, npm install redux-thunk. If you are using yarn, then this is the command to install this redux-thunk. So from here, I'm just going to copy this command, and inside this, I will be pasting this command. Using this redux-thunk, we can define our action creators with network request, using which we can make our API call. Now if you see here, redux-thunk is also add inside our dependencies. And this redux-thunk is nothing but our middleware. Once the packages are installed, come to this async actions.js. What we have to do? From our Redux package, we have to access our apply middleware. So here I will write const apply middleware is equal to, from this Redux package, I have to access my apply middleware. Then I'll come here. Inside this, you can see we have to get access to this redux-thunk. And here we are not using any extra method like how we have seen in our Redux logger. Here we have to import, and directly inside apply middleware we have to pass. Let me come here. Below this I will write const. I will write thunk is equal to required, and I have to access my redux thunk package. Now here we are going to have some error. I will not be showing you. At the end of this lecture, I will be showing you that error. But this is how we are going to access the package. And from Redux library, we are just accessing this apply middleware. Now once we have access, this apply middleware has to be passed as second argument inside this create store, which will be taking our middleware. Now our middleware is nothing but thunk. Okay, till now what we have done, we have just installed the packages which we require in this application, and we have included our middleware. But now using Axios, we have to request to an API endpoint. So for that, I will come again. Axios is package. First, we have to access that package. So below this, I will write const. I will write the variable Axios. Inside this, I will write required. But when we start with React, we are going to use ES6 import modules. But here, simply we are going to use this required method. Inside this, I will access my Axios package. And finally, we have to define our action creator. Why we are defining action creator? Because we are using redux-thunk and using which we can define our action creator. Till now, we have seen action creator will be returning action. But now, using redux-thunk, whatever action creator we are going to create, that will be returning function. Instead of returning action object, it will be returning function. So first, let me write. I will just come down. Before this, before creating the store, I will write thunk action creator. Below this, I will be writing my action creator. Here I will write fetch products is equal to arrow function. Okay, this is nothing but my action creator. Inside this, instead of returning this action object, inside that we can pass type property as well as payload property. But now using thunk, we are defining the action. So this action creator can return function. So here I will be writing function. And what's special about this function is this function does not have to be pure. So this is our action creator. Instead of returning the action, we are returning function. And this function does not has to be pure, which means we are allowed to perform side effects such as asynchronous API call inside this function, and also we can dispatch the actions inside this function. So what we have to do? We have to accept dispatch as its argument. So inside this function, we are going to pass dispatch as its parameter, using which we can dispatch the action inside this function. Okay, first you should understand why we are using or why we are creating this action creator. Because our reducers are pure function, inside that we cannot write any side effect code. But using Thunk middleware, we can create the action creator which will be returning function. And this function does not have to be pure. And inside this, we can write the logic of getting data from API as well as we can dispatch the action. So for dispatching the action, we are just passing the parameter as dispatch. Now inside this function, we are going to start with our Axios request. So here you have to write Axios dot get. We want to get the URL. So you have to write dot get. Open Google, just type fake store API. Click on this first link, scroll down. Here you will be having resources for products, cart, users and login token. I will click on this products, and inside this I am having multiple products. So as of now, I'm just going to copy this link. Copy, and inside this I'm just going to paste my URL. This is how we are going to make Axios request. Then what we have to do, simply we are going to use JavaScript then method, and inside that we will be passing response. At this point, if the data is fetched successfully, this response.data will be our array of products. As of now, I will not be writing anything, but if I am having any error inside this catch method, I just want to catch that error. So here I will write error. Okay, simple enough. This is how we are going to make Axios request. Then using this then method, if my data is successful, I will be accessing the data here. If I am having any error, then that error will be caught inside this catch method. You have to understand this. As soon as I dispatch this fetch products, what I am doing, I am returning function. Inside this, first what I have to do, first I have to load my data. So for loading the data, we have already created fetch request, and inside this reducer, we have set loading to true. So inside this function, first we have to dispatch that action. So here I will write dispatch, and inside this I will write fetch request. As soon as this action is dispatched, first I have to dispatch this fetch request, using which I am setting my loading to true, which indicates if my data is getting loaded, I just want to show some loading spinner or some message to user. So that is the reason I am just dispatching this action first. And if my data is successful, then what I have to do? I just have to dispatch this fetch success. But as of now, first let me access the data and display in console. I will come down, I will write const products is equal to response.data. And below this, I will write log. Inside this, I will be passing products. And this response.data is nothing but the data which we are getting from API. We are accessing that data and we are storing inside this products. And simply we are displaying that product. And finally, if we are having any error, then using this fetch error, we have to access that error. And we copy, and inside that what we have done, we have set error to true and we have set loading to false. So below this, I will write dispatch, and inside this, I will be passing this fetch error. Okay, simple enough. Using this Thunk middleware, we can define the action creator, and inside this action creator, we are returning function. And this function does not have to be pure. Why? Because inside this function, we can perform any asynchronous operation. So once this action is dispatched, first I have to load the data. Then once my data is successful, I have to receive the data. And if I am having any error, I just have to throw that error. Once entire logic is done, what we have to do? We have already created the store. Next, we have to subscribe to our store. So here I will write store.subscribe, and inside this, as of now, I'm just going to write log. Here I will write store.getState. Using this, I can access initial state of my application. I will do Control J, and inside this I will write node async underscore actions.js. Hit enter. Previously I mentioned we have included one error. Now if you see, if I run this, I will be having constant middleware. I am having some error. Middleware is not a function. But in our logger middleware, we have seen this is how we are passing the middleware, and this is how we will be importing the middleware. But now using this Thunk middleware, most of us will be getting the error if they try to import this Thunk in this way. Why? Because in version 3, while using Thunk middleware, we need to pass .thunk here. So here, whenever we are accessing this Thunk middleware, here we have to write .thunk. Okay, this is very important. Maybe for some it will work if you are using older version, but if you are using new version, then you have to use this .thunk. Now I will do Control J, node async actions.js. Now if I hit enter, that error will be gone. Now what I will do, I am just going to dispatch this fetch products action. How we are going to dispatch? From this store, we are going to access this dispatch, and inside that I will be passing my action creator fetch products. Individual action creator, you don't have to dispatch for fetch request, fetch success and fetch error. Instead, we have to call this fetch products action. Why? Because inside that we have written our entire logic. I will save it. I will just increase the size. Now if I hit enter, now you can see I will just come on top. Now here successfully what I got, my loading is through, product is empty array and error is false. When my data was being fetched, I have just set my loading to true. So that is the reason I am having this. Once my entire data is received, I am able to get entire data and display in my terminal. Now this data, if you see, this is nothing but array of object. So what I have to do from this data, I just want to access this title. So I'll close this. I will come here. Instead of displaying inside the console, remove this entire thing. First, using this, what I have got array of object. Now here I will be writing map, and inside this I will write product, which will be having access to each and every object, and from that I just want to access title, product dot title. So from each object I will be accessing title. So first time this product will be holding first object, from that I am accessing title. Why? Because my data was array of object. So using this map method, I am looping through that array. First time first object, first title will be accessed. Second time second object, second title will be accessed. Let me just log this, log products, save it, open terminal, Control J. Now you can see successfully I am only able to access this title. And if you see here, inside this array, I am having this entire title. Why? Because we have passed our products, and inside that we are passing this action.payload, and our product is nothing but empty array. So that is the reason entire title is stored inside this array. Now what I have to do, once I am having this data, successfully if I have this data, I have to dispatch this fetch success. Inside this, I will write fetch success. Now inside this action creator, I have to pass this products. And inside this products, I am having all the title from my API. So now once this action is dispatched, inside that action creator, I am accepting that, and inside that payload, I am passing entire data. So now once I have my current state and my action, that will be passed inside the reducer, and inside reducer, whatever data I got from API, that data I have just assigned to my products. Okay, very simple. Do not get confused. Whatever data we got from API, that data we have accessed and we have just stored inside this products. Now I will open terminal, hit enter. Now you can see again successfully I am able to access entire data. Now my next state is loading is false. Once my data is fetched, my loading is set to false, and I am having all the titles from my API and my error is false. But now while fetching the data, I have removed E. Now I am having some error. Again we are going to see the result. Hit enter, initial state, loading is through. Why? Because my data was being fetched. So that is the reason my loading is through. Initially, my data has not arrived, so entire variables are set. But now I am having error, so loading is false. Again, I am not having any data. Now this time, error is true. So using this, we can easily display error messages to user. If you want to display loading component, if you want to display any message, using this logic, you can display any message to user. Why we are having that error through? Because now it is not able to fetch any data. So that is the reason we went inside this catch method and we have dispatched this fetch error. Now inside this fetch error, we are simply returning this. Then it will come to reducer, and inside that we are updating this property. Save it, Control Z. I will just make it as correct URL. Now save it. Now successfully I will be having the result. So now let us recap what we have done. First, we have installed Axios package. Using that, we can request API from endpoint. Then second, we are using Thunk middleware. Using this, we can define action creator. and this action creator will be returning function. And this function does not have to be pure. It can have the logic where we can perform side effects. So first, when I dispatch this action, what I want to do, I just want to fetch the data from API. So I am dispatching this fetch request, and after that I am accessing my URL. If my data is fetched successfully, I am just dispatching this fetch success. If I am having any error, I am dispatching this fetch error. And if my data is successful, whatever data I've got, it will be in the form of array of object. And from that objects, I only have to access the title. So using map method, I'm just going to loop through that array. And whatever final result I got, that I will be passing inside this variable. And while dispatching this action, I'm just passing my entire final result. And once this is dispatched, I will come inside this action creator. That data will be passed here. And inside payload, we are assigning entire value. So now my payload will be having entire title from my API. So once I am having my action, once I am having my current state, I will come inside the reducer. This case will be matched for fetch success. Copying entire state, I will set loading to false. Now inside this products, what I have done, I am just accessing my action.payload. This is my entire action. From there, I am just accessing my payload, which will be having all the products. So that is the reason I am able to access all the products title and I am able to display in my terminal. I know this is lot to take in. Just take your time, because when we start with React Redux library, we are going to apply the same pattern.